So our entry into the market was cut bottles. So cut bottles that can be converted, that are converted into drinking glasses, into carafes for serving your drinks, into platters that you use for serving snacks. And then along the way, we started creating. I'm a creative by nature. I went to school for a Bachelor in Fine Arts. So my degree is in Fine Arts. And so I started using more and more of what skills I had. I started creating mirrors for the walls. Some of them are custom, where people say, I have this space and I want a mirror that fits this space. And then some of them we create and sell to a person that sees it and likes it. We do things that help you be a bit more organized in the home, like wall hooks for your keys and for your belts and those type of things. We are currently in the middle of developing the next step of products. Yeah, so this coming March, we have like a bunch of products that are launching that are going to be more focused in the home beyond just organizing, because most of the stuff we have right now will organize either your table, your garden. But now we're going more into a wider scope of products. So those are kind of like what we currently do, and with the vision to develop more as we go. Yeah.
Awesome. That is so awesome.
Thank you.
And you. Hello and welcome to the Millionaire Mind Show. My name is Turife. Now, the basis of the show is pretty much highlighting and focusing on women in business. And our guest today, who is the brains or the founder of Moko Maya, is joining us today. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So please introduce yourself and your brand and Moko Maya and the reason behind the name of the brand and everything.
So my name is Nandia Kamawe. I'm the founder of Moko Maya. Moko Maya is a Kikuyu word. It's Kikuyu words kind of joined together. So it's Moko Maya. Moko Maya means these hands. The thought behind the brand name is that everything we produce is handmade. So at the bottom line, no matter what material we're working with, it's by hand. So that was the inspiration. I also like Japanese design, and those words together feel Japanese.
Exactly.
So that was kind of a play on the visual, because a lot of people think it's like this complex word, and it's just a Kikuyu word. Kikuyu words put together. Yes.
Awesome. Moko Maya. It sounds very interesting.
Moko Maya.
Moko Maya.
Yes.
Exactly. When you say it in English, it sounds Moko Maya. And that's how I had done it before you told me it's a Kikuyu name.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with Moko Maya, and what was the inspiration behind it?
Moko Maya was born during Corona. I don't think, yes, it's a COVID baby, and I don't think that it was something that I set out to do as a business. It was something that happened as a business kind of thing. During COVID, I quit my job, and I was kind of trying to stay mentally just like doing something, because it was a time where you couldn't interview, you couldn't look for a job.
True.
And then everybody was making things and posting online, banana bread, blah, blah, blah. Yes. So this was my banana bread. And so during COVID, I had done cutting of bottles in the past for my house, and I would use those pieces for cutting things, for keeping my makeup brushes, cooking spoons, whatever. And so I had a store that had a bunch of bottles, and I was like, what can I do with what I have? So I started cutting bottles, painting, and posting on Instagram. And then people started asking like, how much? And I was like, how much for what? And then it slowly has evolved from that point into a business. I can't say that I saw it as one in the beginning, but I have definitely come to see it that way now, because it's what I do full time.
Okay, so now a passion project that turned into a full-time job.
Yes.
How was that transition? Because it's very easy to just start out as, hey, I'm just doing this for fun. It's something that keeps me, keeps my time busy. But now there's now the aspect of it's become a serious business. It's now time for me to think about things like finances, the way forward, expansion, and so on and so forth. So how was that transition like for you?
I wasn't conscious of it as it was happening. So it kind of happened organically, but also with a bit of intention behind it, because I was aware of the fact that I didn't have a job. And so I remember just as COVID was starting to, like the restrictions were starting to open up, there was a market that was happening, those pop-up markets that was happening in Karen. And so when I started, I was like, you know what? The worst that could happen is I hang out a whole day amongst other creatives. So I applied and they were like, yeah, can you come? And I was like, what? And so then, it was that like a bit of validation there. So it gave me the courage to like step out. So I stepped out in the market. I sold a lot, which I didn't expect. I honestly felt like, was it 1, 2, or you know, I had no expectations. And I think that the beauty of being naive in a situation is the bravery that comes with that.
Yes.
When you don't know what to fear, like you fear nothing. And so I did that market. It did well. And then it was like, oh, okay. So, and then during the market, I made promises to people for like, someone wanted this, someone wanted that. And so like, oh, now I'm like putting myself out there more. So I created a separate page for Mokomaya, and then slowly just started selling through online because we were still not completely open. With time now, I feel like my transition has been continuous. I feel like I'm still transitioning in one way or another. So, for instance, last year I kind of invested a bit more in my professional development when it comes to running a business. So when you ask about how has that transition been, that was like a milestone in the fact that I've never thought about the intricacies of running a business the right way. And so that class and that study allowed me to start to see what I was lacking in and where I needed to put my energy. So
What you did to refine.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what exactly are the products you deal with? You've mentioned it's handcrafted
Yes.
goods. You've mentioned cutting glass bottles.
Yes.
So in my mind, I'm already picturing a lot of DIY going
Yes.
on. So if you'd like to expound on the many things
Yes.
that you specialize in.
So our entry into the market was cut bottles. So cut bottles that can be converted, that are converted into drinking glasses, into carafes for serving your drinks, into platters that you use for serving snacks. And then along the way, we started creating. I'm a creative by nature. I went to school for a Bachelor in Fine Arts. So my degree is in Fine Arts. And so I started using more and more of what skills I had. I started creating mirrors for the walls. Some of them are custom, where people say, I have this space and I want a mirror that fits this space. And then some of them we create and sell to a person that sees it and likes it. We do things that help you be a bit more organized in the home, like wall hooks for your keys and for your belts and those type of things. We are currently in the middle of developing the next step of products. Yeah, so this coming March, we have like a bunch of products that are launching that are going to be more focused in the home beyond just organizing, because most of the stuff we have right now will organize either your table, your garden, but now we are going more into a wider scope of products. So those are kind of like what we currently do, and with the vision to develop more as we go.
Yeah. Awesome. That is so awesome.
Thank you.
And you have mentioned it's handcrafted goods.
Yes.
So there's a lot of investment, especially when it comes to time
Yes.
and energy. And you have to make sure no matter the volume of goods that you have to produce, everything has to be perfected.
Yes.
That human touch to it.
Yeah.
So now, given that, how do you now compete against mass-produced products? There are people who have machines they rely on. There are people who have, you know, systems in place
Yes.
to make sure human resource is not
Yes.
that big of an effort. So now, how do you
You don't compete with that.
Yeah.
You invest in a more efficient way of adding more hands and using machines where you need to use them in a way that doesn't get in the way of the final product being a handmade product. A good example is the cutting. When I first started, I had the regular one you see on YouTube where you kind of roll it, fire, water, you know. And then with time, it's become very apparent that we can't continue like that. So we now have invested in a bit of machinery that allows us to be faster, and then that means that you hire people to do that, which is also awesome because you create jobs for people. However, there's processes that would not walk away from the handmade aspect, like the painting is all handmade. So you don't compromise being handmade, but you become more efficient. So you don't bring tools just to do everything. You bring in tools to make it easier for you to continue to be handmade, in a sense.
Yeah. And there's a lot of creativity that is involved in doing what you do. And sometimes you have an idea, and how are you able now to blend your ideas into functionality? Because it's one thing to have a very creative piece, but yeah, it looks good, but what does it do though?
What does it do? So that is, I think, it's a gift of time. Time in the sense that with more and more interaction with your customer base, you get to understand what people are not really interested in. You might think something is a brilliant idea, and then Kenyans are like, But then there may be a market that's outside Kenya that might embrace the same product. So you learn where that product would go. So you don't take it to a pop-up in a local market, but you put it on your website and it's available to someone that is not necessarily physically in Kenya. However, there's a lot of times where you create a product with so much excitement and like, guys, look at it, and then crickets, nobody's interested. And so you pull it and you learn from it. And most importantly, you try to understand what it is that people are not embracing, because sometimes it's not that it's a bad idea. Sometimes it's like, if you tweak one thing about this thing and bring it back, well, you know, and then sometimes it's just like, I have a thing in my house that I use for that, so why would I
Okay.
So
awesome. And let's talk about, now you've talked about expansion and now investing in machines and having other people. What started as a COVID baby and a one-man show has now grown into this beautiful, beautiful thing going on. There are people now working under you. Have you ever felt the pressure to just do better and be more? Does the pressure get to you now that there are other people who now rely on you as a source of income?
I think part of being an entrepreneur is like a thrill from pressure. Like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, every day is pressure. Even without those people, I think that there's an aspect of pressure in your life every day. And so it's a different kind of pressure now. There's definitely that constant need to make sure that you can cater for them in terms of what you give them, because they're giving you something, and there's what you owe them, which is basically money and a good working environment. So yes, there is pressure, but it's pressure that also motivates me to be better every day, because the better I am at like making sure I market my business, that I make the right decisions in terms of like spending, keeping my costs in check, where I can afford my people, I can afford to grow. So those things are still good things for your business. So I think it's a good kind of pressure.
And speaking of marketing, how do you put yourself out there these days with social media and huge marketing budgets? There are people who have an upper hand. You know, they can really do the thing with the funds they have. But now for small businesses, how do you effectively put yourself out there? Do you feel the pressure to hop on trends and do the dancey dances?
Never ever. I personally don't subscribe to that in terms of like, you're not going to catch me on TikTok doing a challenge. It's just not who I am. And I feel like the more you hop on trends that are not who you are, the harder it is to maintain. So I try to go for the long game, which is investing in a good product, because that always brings you return business. I also invest a lot in partnerships. Relationships that may not necessarily come like birth a product, but they'll birth something that supports me and supports them, because that also widens your network. So I have a lot of different people that work in the same space, where we're able to share ideas, we're able to share solutions, even if it's not solutions that you can see directly impacting your business. They're solutions that eventually will help your business become a better business. And in those relationships, you also find a way to expand your market. The other thing is just putting yourself out there. There's always opportunities to step out of your comfort zone and physically attend and be in spaces that you typically would not be in. So there's always different ways to do what it is that I do. I also feel that you can't compete with who you're not. I'm not big business, I'm not big machines, so I'm not competing with big budgets, because we are not in the same space. There are people who appreciate the cottageness of what I do. And so those are the people I'm constantly talking to, and they're accessible to me through the channels that I can afford.
And now let's talk about your demographic. When you started out, who exactly were you intending to target? Who are the people you're like, you know, these products of mine are going to be suitable for so and so and so and so?
In the beginning, honestly, like I said, this was something I kind of just walked into and started playing around with. So I didn't have a clear definition of who those people were. With time now, I'm very clear about who rarely is my customer. Let me not say who's not, because I also find that I sell to people who are not my demographic, but they're buying for someone who is in my demographic. So at the end of the day, there's someone spending in my business that's not within the demographic, but they're servicing someone in their life that appreciates what it is that I make. Your question was about identifying them?
Yes.
Okay. Identifying them, I think, has been a matter of experience. And then you find that there are people who will refer you more often than not. So there's people that the moment they buy from you, they like it, they will definitely send someone. And that tends to be the larger demographic for me. So a lot of people who have had gifts given to them have come looking for me or have told someone, I got this really cool gift from this person. A lot of our business, almost, I don't want to say 50%, but a good chunk of our business is gift business. So we didn't start off thinking that it's a gift kind of thing, but it has turned out to be a good source of gifts for people because people want something unique, something that they can customize, because we're able to customize gifts for people. Yeah.
Awesome. And you know, you started during the COVID time, a lot of businesses had shut down, and now here you are still going strong. What would you say are the challenges you've experienced so far, especially having a job where it's, you know, a reliable source of income, and then throwing yourself into, I'm an entrepreneur now, my source of income. What challenges did you experience as a woman in business, as a business person, and as a first-time business person?
The first challenge is just not being a business person, because I'm a creative first. And like I said, I didn't walk into this wanting to be a business person. And I really would rather just create. You know, the business part of it is just like could somebody else just take that and let me just be in the workshop, in the studio, creating, But that's not reality. And I can't even afford to have a team to say, you guys go figure it out and then I'll do this. And so the challenge there is you have to also shift your mindset from being just a creative to being a business person, and that has been like an uphill thing for me, but I think I'm finally embracing it. The other challenge is obviously money. I think money and capital is always there's always going to be a challenge. And for me, it's a challenge that I knew I didn't want to go into debt, borrowing from banks. I didn't want to borrow from people. That's not the route I wanted to go to. I wanted to stay within my means and use what I have to do what I need to do. Part of that has been identifying that, you know, I have this skill set that allows me to consult as a designer and then use that to bring in more money to my company. So that has allowed me to, again, be a creative thinker in sense of where am I going to get money? So money obviously is a big challenge. What other challenges? I think those are the two main things. Your capacity as a person to run a business, and then the money to run the business.
Exactly.
Yeah, so and then also making good choices. I think in the beginning I was excited and I was very creative. So my brain was operating from a creative standpoint and not a business standpoint. So you make a lot of bad decisions. So now I know better what to invest in for my business and what's a bad investment for my business, at least until the point where I am right now. Yeah.
And you have referred to yourself as a creative and how you're always coming up with new ideas. But do you experience instances where you're like, I don't think I have something new in me in this moment or in this season? And when you're going through such blocks, if you have ever, how do you come out of the funk? How do you find things to inspire you to create more and create new things?
I think one of the things I've learned early when I started is to capture ideas when they come to me, not necessarily execute and work on them, but just have a place where I can go back and be like, oh, I had thought about this, I've never tried it, let me try it now. Because there's going to be that moment where there's nothing. And then it's like, usually that will really inspire me because it's something that I had thought about, but I put on the back burner because it wasn't time. So that's one way I keep it. And then the other way is just allow myself to decompress. You know, if it's like a trash reality TV show for a minute, just to get your brain relaxed. And then try again. And not also force issues, because I think you can't massage creativity out of your brain. You can do activities that stimulate you, whether it's like physical activities, hanging out with friends, reading a book, watching a TV show, but not necessarily like, I need an idea now and it's going to have to come now. I try to build a bank of ideas and then also just allow myself time to just not be creative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what would you say are the things that have really stood out for you, you know, after, you know, quitting your job and starting this and it becoming a passion project that is now earning revenue, sustainable revenue for you? What are the things that have stood out for you and you felt like, oh, this is so fulfilling. I am so glad I started doing this and I didn't stop?
Number one, impact. At this point or this stage in my business, the impact of having people that rely on you, that come back and say, because of this job, I'm able to do this. And thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to me. That's always like, what? I mean, it's such a rewarding experience to know that you're not just impacting your own life, you're impacting other people. The other thing has been, again, still within impact, is people who see you and have watched you that are like, okay, I'm going to take this step. I'm going to go try. I've had this idea I've wanted to do for a long time, and I've been watching you, and I'm also going to try. So that impact of being able to influence someone to also pursue their dreams has been quite a fulfilling experience. And then just the joy of being me, like fully me. Fully you comes at a cost because now everything is on you. But it also comes with a reward of just being I don't know if I would call it actualized or self-fulfilled, that you're no longer living in a space where it's a thought, I wish, if I could do, if I could, I really am living that reality of the dreams that I had kind of put on the back burner in my head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. That is so cute. And also, a business on its own needs collaboration, especially when you're dealing with, handcrafted goods.
Yes.
There's the need for collaborations with other businesses.
Yes.
And it's very specific to each and every business. So for you and Mokomaya, who have you been collaborating with, or who do you feel the need to collaborate with in your business?
So a balance of both. Collaborations that bring money are important, and then collaborations with other creatives so that you can also birth other creative things in conjunction with them. So right now I'm working on collaborating with local artists where we come together, they bring in whatever skill they have. So basically not two people who cut glass, but someone who cuts glass and someone who does something else might be able to come together and birth something new. And those are some of the things I'm saying that I'm waiting to launch in March. The other collaborations have been working with partners who are long-term partners that bring you exposure to an audience that I otherwise wouldn't have. A good example is I'm doing a project now with EABL, and it's a constant production. And so they've incorporated us into a sustainability program that they have. So we are literally every day producing for EABL, which has been good because it also has stretched us in terms of our capacity. It has shown us where the gaps are in our business in terms of setting systems that work for big deliveries. Yes. Because in the past it was like this little small orders. And then also just having outlets that they're not necessarily collaborating to create together, but you collaborate in the sense that they become a source for your product. So I sell out of Anselm stores at Junction and Village Market, and also at the Kitengela workshop. I sell out of a stop that sells sustainable products in Roslyn. And those kind of relationships, because they place you in a space where people who have an attraction to what you do, because Kitengela people come for glass. And so that opens you to an audience that you otherwise would not have. So that collaboration may not be one where we're creating something together, but the business collaboration aspect of it has opened up for me an exposure that I otherwise would not have on my own. And so the same is also for the shop that sells my stuff in Roslyn. They do sustainable products only, from body products to home products. And so people coming in there are people that really are passionate about sustainability. So yes, there's different ways to collaborate, and I'm trying to just balance all of them in a healthy way. Yeah.
And you had mentioned that last year you actually had to go back and find a way to refine your business acumen. But apart from that, how do you stay ahead of the curve? Because clearly you're doing something right. Not a lot of people who venture into what you're doing right now actually end up succeeding. There's even like a 1-year period we give you, okay, that's cute and everything.
Yes.
It's a cute idea, but you've gone beyond that, and now it's a business that has different outlets out there. So what are you doing to stay ahead of the curve?
Staying true to yourself, because I think those things didn't come because I did something. It just they aligned because I was doing what is true to me, and the people who are my people found me. If that makes sense. I don't want to sound loopy out there, but I also believe in God, and I think that there's things that I can do as a person, but then there's what God does that has nothing to do with what I can explain to a person.
True.
So what I do to stay ahead of the curve is keep doing what I've done in the past, which is work hard, continue to like really develop good products, invest in like understanding my product, how I can be better, and constantly just growing in that sense, because I feel like eventually with investment in your business, you will align with the right people.
Yes.
So not necessarily approaching growth from a standpoint of like we need to grow today, but really focusing on growing within, because the outwards growth then happens organically.
That's true.
Yeah.
Awesome. I really love this conversation. I really wish we had like more time to go into the details. But we're pretty much just highlighting what she does and how impactful she is as a business. But before we come to the end of the show, where would you say, where can people find you on social media, physical stores and so on?
So we have a website, it's mokomaya.com. So then, and you can purchase on there, and it delivers globally. Then we have outlets here locally. We have the Kitengela Anselm store at Junction Village Market, and then also the studio in Kitengela sells my stuff. They also have dedicated a web page to us. So if you go to the Kitengela website, they have a section for Mokomaya. You also can buy our stuff at E-Candy, which is in Roslyn. It's a sustainable shop that sells, it's an eco shop, I would say.
Yeah.
And you can find us on social media, Instagram _Mokomaya. You can find us on Facebook, Mokomaya Goods, on Threads, Mokomaya, on TikTok, Mokomaya.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel like this has really been a journey, especially for you. It's been a long time. It's just been an upward trajectory for you, and we're so proud of you.
Thank you.
But where do you see yourself in like 5 years to come? Or what's the future for Mokomaya?
My desire is to be a brand that embodies home and living. So what that would mean is that I expand my products to serve your homes, your offices. So like anything, I don't know if you're familiar with Martha Stewart, but like when you think of Martha Stewart, she does everything from the stuff that you use to make things, and then she even makes the things.
Yes.
So like you could stock your entire kitchen with Martha Stewart things. You could get furniture, you could get bed sheets, you could get like
Cookware.
all those things, right? And so my desire is to be a home brand that embodies all those things, things that are related to living. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would you say to somebody who's watching you right now, who has this idea in their head that they'd actually love to actualize, but they just don't know where to start?
To just start, because there'll never be a clear time to start. Like you can either pass or fail. And if you don't start, you'll never know. And you might dwell so long in that fear that you don't actually find out it's a bad idea soon enough. So I would say just the courage to step out and start, because I think once you start, then the courage to move forward is something that you can also continue to cultivate in yourself, because I think that's the most fearful thing, is like, oh my God, you know, there's all these things that run through our heads. So I would say start. Don't worry about the money. Don't be stupid either. Don't sell your house to start a business. Yeah. But then,
Don't
you
be
know,
naive about it.
right.
Yeah.
But, you know, start. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
you.
having the time to come and talk to us and talk about your business. We're very inspired by your story. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Nandia from Mokomaya. And my name is Turi Fain. Until next week, goodbye.